welcome to a new video where today I'm kind of just going to be going through my main tactics which I'd use if I was the Bristol City boss for next season. So as you can see, I'd be lining up in a 4-2-3-1, and I think this is our strongest lineup. So obviously you have Bentley in goal, Viner right back. I think he could have a shout to be centre mid, but right now we have a lot of good centre mids, like really solid centre mid, so I think kind of take his place to be able to slot in to right back. But he's versatile, so he can really go right back, centre mid. He can go centre back as well. So I think he's going to be a really good one for the team. So we have James and King or Baconson in centre mid. For me, James has to be a starter. He's good on the ball. He's a good all round solid centre mid. And it's a toss up between King and Baconson, because Baconson I think can be a deep lying playmaker who kind of like plays through balls to the attackers, and obviously King has a good relationship with James, so I think he has the shout over there. Obviously De Silva left back, I think he's one of our best players this season. He's extremely good on the ball, can get past his marker and can play forward passes. Vyman and Semenyo on the wings. I know Semenyo's injured, but I would, when he comes back from injury, I put them two on the wings, respectively. So, but for now, I probably put Vyman right mid and O'Dowd left mid. Scott in the middle. I've already made a video on Alex Scott and why he should be in the team. So, if you haven't seen that, then feel free to go and check that video out. And obviously Martin up front. I think he's a good all-round player. He can hold up the ball, but he can also shoot from long range, and he's a finisher as well. So for this comparison, the opposition is going to be lining up in a 4-3-3, but for the build-up play, as most teams do, they're going to be shifting to a 4-4-2, because that's the most common pressing shape in top 5 leagues, including Championship. Right. Start off with, I'm going to talk about the build-up. So that's like building up from the back, stuff like that. Then I'm going to go on to transition. When we've built up, what do we do? Like, where do we move to transition to attack? And then I'm going to be for the attack. Like, how do we break them down and get through their solid lines if they're sitting back? So first thing I want to talk about is building up with a back three. That could be either Viner shifting into centre back, as I talked about earlier. He can play centre back. This forces De Silva up and Vyman into the half space. So when Vyman comes into half space, this kind of pins down the number 2. So De Silva is one-on-one with their winger. And again, this pins back their winger to mark De Silva. So Atkinson, as he likes to do, can travel up the pitch with the ball and overload the midfield, creating a 4v3 or 4v2. The other option is have the wing backs as normal, but drop either James or King and Baconson into the centre mid, which kind of allows a deep playmaker. So if he gets on the ball, he can like play balls up to the striker, straight up to Martin, because Martin's good in the air. He's got good hold up play, or he can play him over the top to runners like Semenyo or Vyman, who are quick and can definitely beat the marker. So the next thing I want to talk about, which I think if I was the manager, this would be my main build-up tactic, is the inverted fullback. So that's when De Silva comes inside to centre mid. This allows James to push up, which pins down his marker here. Scott and Martin obviously on the centre back. So you have a double pivot here, and you have a back three of Atkinson, Viner, and Callas. So if Callas has the ball here, and he can obviously play out there, create a kind of triangle with De Silva and Atkinson. But also, if say Vyman's up here on the number 2, and De Silva's being marked by number 7, if De Silva comes inside and this winger doesn't come inside with him, so he stays out here, then obviously De Silva has space, and he can kind of he can overload the midfield with a 3-3 here being De Silva, King and Baconson and James, versus like a 2, but then the striker can also make it a 3, so that's when we drop Vyman in or push Atkinson up. But if the winger does come with De Silva, then either Atkinson can go out wide. Let me build up the back two, but that's kind of risky because then if the ball gets taken off us there, then they can easily have a 2v2 and then probably score. So in other cases, Weimann, who's capable of running up and down the wing, can cover this wing space to do the job of what De Silva was doing. But I think I would use the inverted fullback because most times the winger stays out here because Weimann will drop deep. So then we have a double pivot here, just behind these two initial pressers. James is obviously pinning back this number 6 over here, and then this number 8 has two decisions, or like two players to mark. So he either goes to De Silva and leaves open number 8, or goes number 8 and leaves open De Silva. And De Silva, as I spoke about before, is good on the ball. He can move past his player, he can beat a player one-on-one, and he can play a forward pass in the right areas. So the other thing I want to talk about is a double pivot. So this is a double pivot as well, what I'm showing now with De Silva as the inverted fullback. But for the example, I'll shift De Silva up there and put James back. So here we have two players who can get on the ball, who can turn, who can use each other. And obviously as a double pivot, you want to be in a staggered line, because if it's like this, then it's easy for someone to just stand in between. Whereas if it's like that, then obviously Martin can drop in, and then you kind of that's difficult because then it's 3v2 midfield. So number 6 is marking King or Baconson. Number 8 is marking Martin, and obviously James has loads of space here, or opposite, he's marking there, just play it to Martin, and then he can move. So I think a double pivot allows probably Scott to drop into this space and pick up the ball here and move forward. But likewise, I think we could also use a single pivot, which we've done in a few of our preseason friendlies, where I think it's mostly James who pushes up into that cam position, who drags the number 8 out with him, and then King or Baconson is usually King in the preseason friendlies, kind of has the space or has the intelligence to beat his mark with a dummy run, get the ball, and then you can obviously turn, and then we have numbers up the field instead of pushing 2 players back, and then we just have 4 players up there. We then have 5 and 6 if De Silva joins up with them. So the other thing I want to talk about is overloads out wide, which is, let's just use the left side for example. James usually plays there. You see we have a diamond here, so let's say if Atkinson has the ball here. Obviously we have 2 players, Viner and Callas, covering for them, but also we have the winger who probably pushes up here, and the fullback pushes up here. So it's a 4v4 here, but that also means that space is left behind the fullback for Scott to make the run, or whoever's there, Martin or Scott. And Atkinson, who is good with the ball at his feet, can play the ball through to him or find him with a over top ball. Second thing I want to talk about is the long ball option, which I think we've played a few times in our preseason friendlies, where we just not hoof it up, but kind of find Martin who drops deep and flicks it on. But I'll talk about that more after I've rearranged everyone. So it's mostly come from when Bentley's had the ball. Obviously Callas and Atkinson split with Viner pushing it up. We have a double pivot here. This is how we lay out mostly, with Scott just here. So when the ball comes to Martin, he can chest it down. He prefers to chest it down instead of head it if he has space. So he can chest it down to Scott, who is one-on-one in between the lines. And with Scott, I think he can beat his man and play a through ball. But if not, then obviously Martin flicks it on. And he comes into midfield, which draws out a centre back. He flicks it onto a runner behind. This is what's happened in most of our games. And obviously the runner behind can have a one-on-one chance, or try and have a one-on-one chance. But likewise, I think we could, if the ball's too long and Martin pushes back, then obviously the whole defensive line will have to push back because he's on the side and we don't have one-on-one. But this allows space in between the lines, in between the centre mid, where either Semenyo could come inside or Scott could kind of patrol here and get at the end of any balls. So in transition, I think it's important that we mainly look to create overloads. That could be out wide with these 4 players, or even Scott coming across these 5 players. It could be in the middle with De Silva coming inside, which obviously pushes James up. So that's a 4 versus 3 if number 9 drops in or the Cam drops back in. So I think the main thing we need to do is create overloads in and around this midfield space, because that, I think we could really get at them here, because in my opinion we have a really good midfield, good technical midfield who can pass the ball around, who know where to be and kind of who know each other and know each other's play movements, which is crucial for a successful midfield anyway. Also, I think we could do some dummy runs. This isn't really tactics, but it's kind of like if a player runs here, obviously this takes away the fullback, and the environment has a lot of space in here. Stuff like that. That's what really separates the good teams from the bad teams. Like this is what Barcelona did. I know we're not saying we're the same level as Barcelona, but this is what Barcelona did when they had that good season with like Pep Guardiola in, I'm not sure when it was, like 2008 or something like that. But that's what I think we could really do to create like disruption in their back line, is use our movement to create space for other players. So saying like, well, Vyman or De Silva's here, James pushes up the balls with Atkinson, and this opens up space in the middle for De Silva to come inside and play a simple pass. And then obviously we've got, like I talked about before, we've got an overload on this side with the 2v2 with, if De Silva's up there, and there's obviously a 2v3 towards us. Also, I think we need to find space in between the lines. That could either be with a quick ball from, so say we're getting pressed like this, that could be with a quick ball straight through their midfield to Scott, who is waiting there. If it's a high press, then obviously we will have space in between their midfield line and their defensive line here. So with 3 players here, I think could really get at them. And if we can find the defense splitting balls, as they say, then we could turn in this half space and kind of move on as we have a 4v4 here. That could be one of the most important things. If we get quickly from the defense, if we transition quickly and like play 1-2 touch football, then I think we could find space in between line really nicely and overload their back line with probably De Silva pushing up here and Vyman in the half space, so then it creates a 2v1 here. The other thing I want to talk about is if they are pushed up really high, let's say we're camped inside our box, or we're kind of creating a tight space for them to try and attack in, so we're obviously compact when defending, and they are pushed up right here with only 2 centre backs. With only 2 centre backs covering, I think if we're set back here, there we go. I think Martin just camped on these 2 centre backs to kind of worry them a bit. So say they lose the ball. Hold on. They lose the ball here, let's say. We have Vyman, Scott and James, and obviously Martin and Semenyo, who are kind of ready to run out their 2 defenders. So say it's at like a 2v3 or something like that, with Martin over here and Vyman over here and Scott on the ball here. I think instead of kind of being here and trying to get runs through the middle of the 2 defenders, they could obviously just, well, this guy could just follow him and then that's kind of cut off passing. We need to stay wide of the defenders here in the half spaces. So obviously if both defenders cover for go out wide and they get close to, say, Vyman, then Vyman can either just spin off into the space or Scott can have a clean run through. But if both defenders stay here, which I think they'll do because they're experienced defenders, and that's what most defenders do, they kind of keep their shape instead of jumping in, then we could either do a dummy run inside and obviously spin out at the back, so dummy run, get him, spin out at the back, or there could be a pass through between both the defenders, and because he starts out wide, he can make the diagonal run, he can kind of curve his run staying on side, so he curves his run here, and he's coming on the blind side of the defender, so the defender's looking at Scott, Vyman kind of curves his run so the defender doesn't see him to the last minute, and then we could play ball through the middle. So on the transition, I think we need to stay a bit wider of the defenders in the half space, not like right here or not close to the defenders, but wide of them. So finally, I'm going to talk about the attack, or when we attack and what we should do when we attack. So first of all, obviously I want to talk about Alex Scott, and if you haven't seen my last video on Alex Scott, then I'd advise go watching it, because I'm just going to brush over it. I'm not going to go into detail. So if you want to see it in detail, then go and watch my last video. So anyway, he can create overloads out wide. I think he prefers coming into the half spaces. So say he comes out here, and then it's obviously if you shift James over, it's a 4v3, which I think can do us justice, because obviously you can work it down the side and kind of get across, and it's good that we have a strong physical presence in the box like Martin. I think in this situation, I think we kind of missed Jeju, but I'm glad we got Martin because he's an all-round quality player. But Scott can also make runs in the half space. So if Semenyo stays out wide, and obviously their winger stays on our fullback, then Semenyo pins down their left back, Martin pins down their centre mid, and their centre mid closes down James. Then Scott has time and space in the half spaces where he thrives, mostly on the left half space, but for now we'll just do the right half space. He thrives in the half spaces, kind of coming in at an angle one-on-one and either squaring the ball or going for a shot at the near post. So I think we can really like get the teams there with Scott running into the half spaces. But also he likes to drop deep. So say James and Scott switch, and obviously if this number 6 kind of gets confused, or if the fullbacks get confused, then either Scott has space here, or if both commit to Scott, then James has space for a chip ball in the half space. The second thing I want to talk about is the false 9, which Martin plays really well, I think, especially in the build-up, as I mentioned earlier. He likes to drop deep, which I think can credit the players we have, because, like I was mentioning, Scott can get in the half space, and if Semenyo comes inside a bit with Viner covering, he can get in the half space. Likewise, Vyman gets in half space with Odada out wide. I think we can really get them there, but that all counts on Martin dropping deep. It either opens up space in behind for Semenyo, or if the defence stay in their line and say number 6 comes up, then if number 6 doesn't come up, he can get the ball here and turn and create something. If number 6 does go to mark him, then obviously it opens up space for James, who was being marked, or Scott, who was being marked by number 6. Now I want to kind of highlight the fact that we need to always be in the half spaces with either our wingers in the half spaces, or like I was mentioning, Scott in the half space with Semenyo out wide and Viner back. Either Scott in the half space or like our wingers in the half space, because if they're in the half space, then obviously this could either pin back their fullbacks, which gives us the width out wide to kind of get across in, especially with De Silva or Viner. If he's right-footed, then he obviously can get across in on his stronger foot. But also, if the fullbacks stay out wide to occupy this, or the wingers kind of drop deep onto our fullbacks, and this can open up space for Vyman to come to the space here, collect the ball deep and kind of play a through ball, or play a simple pass out wide and then get across him from there. But if the fullback does get drawn out by De Silva, then obviously Vyman has so much space in here to collect the ball, maybe cutting on his right foot and have a shot, or put a cross into the middle for Martin. Finally, I want to talk about support players, which we can use to recycle the ball. So say the ball is out wide with them who have kind of outnumbered us right now. I think we need to create a kind of, not chain of players, but like a line of players to get the ball back to our number 8 and shift it across to the other side. This is something that Arsenal do really well. They kind of have Smith Rowe, who drifts out here to come out on the right or the left, and then Semenyo kind of stays in his half space or drops deep to recycle the balls. So they kind of toy with the opposition and make them think, and then while they're passing it around this what's it called, like support net, then they make runs inside, or if the opposition gets pulled out, then also you can play a pass inside and you get like a shot on goal. So anyway, that's just been this video. It's gonna be quite a long one, but I just wanted to like make a long tactics video. If you didn't watch this far, then that's alright. But if you did watch this far, then thank you for watching. Please subscribe and like the video. I'll see you soon.